So, let me explain a little bit more about the project and how it started. Matteo approached the school and he had this offer from this fair to create something in his chandelier. And he chose our proposal. The thing is, we wanted to give a contemporary touch to this term of chandelier that many people have in their minds as something very classic. And we wanted to try new things. The good thing about us is that we had no idea and never worked with glass previously. So it was an interesting dialogue between someone that is so experienced in working with glass and designers that have quite no idea of how it works, especially if you combine it with light. So the project was created in his workshop. We asked him to create some real samples that we could try, we could play with, we could break, we could shift, we could do anything about. And step by step we achieved the final form that you can see in the piece. The idea behind the inspiration came from the candy world and the lollipops. As the sugar and the sand, somehow they react the same way. You heat them, you melt them, you put them in a mold, you let them dry, and then you have the final piece, the glass and the lollipop. So we wanted to achieve in every piece that we did some kind of different flavor, different texture, different finishing, and to get this outcome. We have a presentation to show.
2 minutes. We have
okay,
a technical problem.
So,
well, first of all, I would like to thank you all three for your great work, and thank the organization, of course, giving us the chance to show this beautiful piece here. I think it's interesting now we're going to go through the process how this whole idea where it came from, and yeah, I mean we had the chance to collaborate already several times with ECAL students through different workshops, and I have to say that this collaboration was for me a great pleasure, to say, and I think for people that had no experience previously with glass, it was quite impressive the way that you understood very fast how it's working. So thank you again for that. It's of course on my side always a challenge, but what you have to know is that this is something that we do a lot. So it's not, we are not a workshop with a regular production. And so it's the way we work. We always have different demand, and we work on specific projects. So this one is a little special because we had also to develop this project from the start. So is it working?
Yes.
Great. I think it's good for everybody to see how this whole thing started.
Yeah. I mean. I guess Matteo is using a very traditional way of making things, and here you can see steps of the process and how from a single piece he managed to achieve all the shade that we asked him for. We worked, as I told you, in the workshop, and it was a piece that it was built 3D there in real materiality. We worked on every single detail, the connection, we put everything together. Some things were working, some not, so we're getting feedbacks for the next step and the next step. Matteo has a great library in his workshop in terms of colors, materials, different techniques that we wanted to expose and to show to people what he can achieve with the glass. Different colors, different textures. Here is the, let's say, first mock-ups where we were going. We were kind of convinced about some shapes, some textures. We wanted to introduce a really standard piece, which is the circle that you can see also in our booth. But besides that, we wanted to give to a buyer the freedom to create something a little bit more unique and abstract. So we were thinking of something more three-dimensional. Then we started applying different colors to see how they react with the light, because glass is a different thing, and glass in combination with light is something else. And you can get it can get very interesting or disappointing in terms of the result. Here, that want to talk about the textures and techniques of.
Well, this is a picture of different samples we produce. So we can. We work, of course, you've seen some images of the hot glass. So glass comes out of the kiln, it's shiny and slick. And when the glass is then cold, you can work it almost like a stone. So you can achieve a lot of different materials, a lot of different texture. We use mainly, well, we use only traditional tools. So there are diamond tools or sand tools, and so we try to work between something just sandblasted, for example, or you can see here something that is very rough, that is done with diamond tools, and of course this gives a lot of play with the light, and the reference, the starting point was everything that we could see on sugar candies and lollipops. So I don't know, do you have images of the first setup you did? Because it's actually
everybody will get surprised.
but that's actually the nice thing about it. I mean, the first time when I went to ECAL, so what you have to know that it's I don't know how many presentations were there.
4 or 5.
Five. So you were something like 20 students on the starting point, and they made 5 different proposals. And this proposal was really like a candy store, basically. It's extreme, but it was very well done. And so we really tried to pick some details and not to really recreate this one-to-one candies.
Reduce it a little bit and make it more not commercial, because you cannot say that craft piece is commercial, but something that can be applied to many different people, houses, spaces, etc. So we kept the interesting parts of our concept, which was the candies. As I told you before, we wanted to challenge also Matteo, because he has already a really big portfolio with very interesting designers and architects. So we wanted to give him also a new project. We tried different connections. We wanted to be a little bit more abstract, a little bit more rough, a little bit more experimental. So you see pieces of glass going inside the other. That seems a little bit rough, but it's very detailed, the way they come, everything comes together. Here are again some, we're trying to achieve the three-dimensional thing and how it can work in the space and what we need it for to fill the booth that we have. So this is what you can see in our space right now. As I told you, is the single piece, the single circle, that is our main piece, and then the rest can go any dimension and any shape someone desires, and also any finishing that he or she would like.
You came out actually with the proposal of the metal. Was it you to work the metal?
We wanted to those pieces, in order to stand, they needed structure inside in order to make shape that they don't break or they don't fall apart. So we decided to, instead of hiding details like the metal structure, to expose them, to make it part of the sculpture, let's say, in the end. And okay, this thing has a reference to the stick of the lollipop somehow, but in a more worked and crafted way, in a more subtle way.
Because this is a point here we discussed quite strongly a lot at the studio, and that's, for me, that's the most exciting thing. I have to say. I mean, I'm used with the glass, of course, so, but I like really the way you brought this metal structure for the hanging part, but also inside the structure, let's say, and the metal that is outside the glass is very clear. But what I like especially is the metal that you just see slightly through the glass and gives more something between a shadow and the structure. And I think this is, for me, a very interesting detail.
Many designers try to hide structural details, but it can be something interesting also to the secondary elements of the project, not only to the glass, but also to the screws, to the metal structure that you can work, you can put some effort and make the project even more interesting. Here are some models and some details, close-ups of our piece. So, basically this is it. If you have any questions, something you would like to explain more.
And what are, may I ask, because now you've finished your studying, I mean you're now done with the studying, so what are your plans for the future? I mean, what is, I hope you're gonna have some need for glass at some point, so don't forget me.
No, at all.
Give me a call.
Well,
so what are your plans? Like,
now I'm working for ECAL. I'm an assistant for ECAL, and actually I'm going to open a studio with the other guy is not here, Maximilian, and we want to base our own studio in Switzerland. And of course we are.
And then what kind of project are you willing to work?
We want to stay like in the luxury field, and we want to deal mostly with galleries rather than to go into something more industrial, more like company. Okay, we want to take some business with company, but we are more focusing like in gallery pieces, and because we like storytelling, we like telling story about our project, do a research before to do a project, like not just to do a project because okay, I draw a nice shape, a nice piece, a nice chair, and I want to do it. No, we want to try our identity, and we want to push this identity in what we are doing. So it's also a way to try to be freedom, and not to be like to change with the trends of the mood. Our idea of designing, we want to start now. I mean, we are both now working, but in like different for different companies, me for ECAL, him for MPNS. But we are like in parallel going on with our business.
And where in Zurich, you said, right? You said.
Yeah, in Zurich would be like the next step. Now we are in Lausanne because I'm working in Lausanne, he's working in Lausanne, but we want to move in Zurich.
And you're heading back to Greece,
yes,
is that right?
I'm setting up my studio in Athens, in Greece. I found it designers to try to explore new areas. I think Athens has a momentum right now. And in terms of luxury and craftsmanship, it's not that developed what I do and what we did this year. So I think it's a really virgin territory to explore, and from there send work outside to let it travel, and yeah.
And what kind of objects?
I do like. I mean, for me, luxury. It's not to buy it; it's to use it. So I like this sense of everyday objects that are treated in a crafted, treated with this luxury in this luxury field, but you can use them every day in your everyday life. So I'm focusing on this object that surround us every day, but you can use it, not just put them in a box and never take them out. Just use them even destroy them. It's better than
For example, what kind of
mirrors, tables,
lamps?
lamps, of course, everything. Yeah, I think that's the meaning of true luxury, to be able to use it, not just to buy it. It's okay, but
Is there a glass culture in the?
no, not really. But I will discover, don't worry. There is a lot of craftsmanship, of course, especially in the islands, and young generation is going back now with all the crisis and stuff. All this art movement and craftsmanship is really developing again. So I think it's a good opportunity also for me to explore it and see my culture from another perspective now. That's what we should do, preserve culture, preserve craftsmanship is really important for us.
What are your plans?
I'm already working for a watch company in Geneva, Constantin. And this is also what is interesting in this kind of collaborations, is that it opens doors to students. Because last year, Constantin was one of the partners of the ECAL Mass, and we had also another project. And at the end, this came into like an internship for me. And for now, my plans are really to finish this intern, and then I will see after that what are the options.
Matteo, tell us what are your other projects we are working on. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we have something like 40 projects going on at the moment, so it's a good time for us now. It's a lot of work, so we're working on, we have actually mainly long-term relationships with our clients. We're doing it's a niche work, as we say, and we are making large sculptures, for example, for Chanel building in New York. We are working also on panels, glass panels that are going on the bridge, also for North America. And we are working on skylights for Palace in Paris. So it's now really a moment where we have to work as much as possible. So, yeah.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, thank you for this presentation. It was very interesting.
Yes, thank you. We have also a small present, but it can be great. It's a handmade wish bringer that we bring you. It's from Japan. They make it by hand. It's a wish bringer. You have to fill out one eye, then you wish something, and if it comes true, you can paint the other eye. And I hope to bring you a lot of wish. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good day and
Have a good day.
enjoy the fair. Thank you so much.
Thank you.